Man. Okay, it should be on my page. You should have it on there. Let me just wait for the rest of them.
There we go.
You got it? Okay, cool.
I got it. Let me share it.
All right. Okay. Okay, so we're live on our 11 platforms. Welcome everybody to the live and the replay. It's been a historic night. We haven't even talked about it, but I can tell. And but I'm going to give people a little bit of time because I know a lot of people have been writing me about Sandra. So we're going to play our quick intro. It's 1 minute and 19 seconds. Allow people time to come in, and we'll be right back. We got 83 people in the house, and the beautiful, beloved, brave Sandra Walter is in the house with us. A couple of quick notes. We are live on 11 platforms, and we'll be adding Starseed's Facebook group. It's been a group I've been sharing to since about 2013. They have a lot of strong people in there to engage every week. Thank you, Bedelia Barnett. And also, if you haven't gotten over it, you can also watch these shows on the SoulogyNetwork.com. We just have the lives there, no replays. If you haven't gotten over there, go check us out. It's been a long time coming, 9 years. And we have some Soulogy swag, so you can check out the store. Yeah, we're going to put some in this next few days. The I Am Soul, The Human is the Hero, Holy Shiitake Mushrooms, and there was another one. So we're going to have some T-shirts, have a little fun with it, and we welcome you guys to come check it out. There you go. Sandra Walter. It's good to see you. I saw you 6-7 weeks ago. Every time I go through there, it's like we go, whew.
I know.
We'll connect, and then we'll be like, shoom, shoom, shoom.
I got to see a concert, though. That was great.
Did you go?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I can't even remember that.
I know it was in the dark, and it was a new moon, so
yeah.
kind of sitting.
Yeah, that was kind of scary. Yeah, they were like, hey, come on over. And I'm like, okay. And they're like, when you get in here? I'm like, well, I'm pulling up. It starts in 5 minutes. And the next thing I know, they start it, and they handed me the microphone. It's like, go ahead, you start it. I'm like, what am I supposed to do?
Brother.
Yeah, I'm like, what am I supposed to do?
I was like,
yeah. With all these pros, I'm like, oh my God. Yeah, that was fun. Sedona was a blast. Sedona, you said, I said to you last night was huge. You're like, oh my God, yeah, you've been up since 1:30 in the morning, but
yeah.
And I didn't go to bed, and I was sick part of the night, not in a bad way, but energy.
Okay.
And but I just wanted to revisit Sedona real quick, and just share with you some intel that we got. Well, Morgan got, when we connect at night about 2 weeks before we went over there. Then the night before we went over there, we were in New Mexico. It happened again. Then quite a few things happened over there, which is normal for Sedona. But it had to do with, and I'm just going to speak in general terms, it had to do with divine union energy, Trinity energy. And in our case, because of the role we play, we were told you're going to meet two couples of the same frequency at the beginning. You're going to meet another couple at the end, and a whole bunch of androgynous and couples throughout the journey, throughout the time you're there. And it's just an indicator. There's many Sedonas, and this was a time period of the last 2 weeks of September, first few days of October. There are many of these PowerPoints all around the world. These convergences are happening. I think a good example would be that night we had that meetup, and there was all those people there.
Right.
And basically everything we were told came true, and which is not out of the ordinary. It's just the subject matter, and that's what I wanted to lead off with.
Mm-hmm.
So we were told that this would occur, and then when these meetings happened, they didn't have to be like the meetup, but just that all of these souls were in the same proximity. You had stuff going on. There was a lot of different events going on. There was a lot of people that came in from out of town and out of state, and that when this had occurred, there would be a pulsation that would go out into the grid from that epicenter, and that there were epicenters like that all around the world. And it was like going to be a blast of Trinity energy, a blast of triad energy onto the new grid. So I just wanted to start off with that because everyone that I've talked to and everything I've seen, there was a big uplifting energetic force in the latter part of September, first part of October, and then it went really into like an integration flat period on the back, physical elements and this and that, and then it seemed to lift it again. But I didn't know if what you had observed or seen, if that lines up with that, or if there's something else that we're missing.
Absolutely, brother. Absolutely. Because for equinox, we had a unity meditation that day, and it was just it was Gaia and the gates that we've been working on, because we have been working on that trinitized gateway. So the trinitized gateways function in that pure unity consciousness, and that was the reason for coming from Shasta, because Shasta operates that way, to come to Sedona and activate those templates. And you should see there are so many sisters, specifically sisters who have moved to Sedona in the last 6 months or so. And I was just like, and even at your meetup, I was like, look at all of us that are here now.
Yeah.
You stepped away and then everyone got called back. But when the equinox happened, there was this great balancing energy that came in. All of a sudden, equilibrium. And that equilibrium is that pure 0 point, is that pure balance. And it pulses. I actually described this in a webinar I had like a week ago, this pulsing activity where you can feel it. It's like this new cosmic pulse that a lot of scientists have been tracking coming through the galaxy. It's like setting off supernovas, and activity and everything is getting closer and closer and closer to us. But the sun was completely recoded and altered over the summertime in order to receive that frequency, this balancing frequency. And when you feel it, because it is connected to your DNA, so if your DNA has enough of those codes turned on, wow, all of a sudden you feel it. And yes, it is a deep integration because it affects the crystalline light body that we're moving into. So yeah, there's integration. I just did a lengthy water fast to catch up, to allow my body to catch up with this more rapid upgrades that we're receiving. And like last night, was one of those nights where it was just constant work and gateways and everything, just could not be asleep, right? You're awake at 1 o'clock in the morning. That's been happening a lot for me lately. But last night particularly was palpable, and it was like the last day of this November 11th through the 18th gateway. So no surprise there. But yeah, Sedona is one of those convergence points. Yeah. So when you have one of these trinitized convergence points on the crystalline grid, people are attracted. You show up. It's over soul level, going, come over here. And there's a lot of code exchange, and then either people dissipate. But what I'm surprised is that a lot of people are actually staying in Sedona. Wow. It's not the easiest place to find housing or anything, especially now. So I'm like, wow, we're all just finding our spots and getting to know each other, doing a lot of work together. I've been getting together with a lot of sisters, doing kind of little private.
I've been watching those. Yeah.
It's really and it's interesting too, because, as this revelation wave comes in December and gets closer, it actually gets launched officially. It starts on the 12/12, but you can feel it already. And the interesting thing is, it's the intention or the activations, the revelations that come with the revelation wave are revealing this level of self that we've actually had since 2012. So we're all different people since the end of 2012. And now it's like ripping away the veils on the true self. So star seeds, especially, you're going to feel very different. There's a lot of opening of your skills. I've noticed this when I'm playing with other sisters. We're doing unified viewing. You sit with a crystal and you stare into each other's eyes, and you can
Wow.
see the same thing at the same time. It's so cool. I've encountered this with
Wow.
a couple of sisters, and it's just like, oh my god, oh my goodness, and it feels like it's like riding a bike. All of a sudden you're like, oh, I remember how to do this kind of thing.
Wow.
And you can see all inner earth and the gates, and it's amazing to me, because I haven't had that experience before. And we did it with a group of sisters on the 11/11 as well, just viewing together. What do you see? What do you feel? It was really
Wow,
quite
that's
remarkable.
powerful.
It
I mean,
is.
that's a
And
powerful thing.
yeah, and Sedona allows for that, because we do. There is, there was the Lemurian migration, the kind of inner Earth folks kind of migrating to Sedona since 2013, and kind of opening up that crystalline corridor and all those energies here. And all of a sudden, you've got all these people coming to Sedona and staying here
Yeah.
and working with that. And you can see just like the vividness. I mean, the sky looks like Shasta sometimes.
Wow.
It's like this vivid, high def blue with just everything that's really amplified. So you can see all the work that we're doing is really assisting, and the unity part of the equation is really kicking in too, where it's just like, I feel so welcomed here. There's a lot of different people working on different things all the time in Sedona. So it's not like, well, you're a group and we do this and we do that. Yeah. And then we come together every once in a while,
Yeah.
to do, the big stuff kind of thing. And this wave that's coming in December, I'm really starting to feel it, especially since the 11/11. This, well, I was on a fast too, so that helps. You do a water fast for like 10 days, and it's just
I was going to ask you
whoa.
how long?
Yeah,
10 days?
just 10 days. But I'm going to do it consistently all the way through this passage, because I do feel the need for the DNA reset, for the light body reset, for the visions that it provides, for me personally, and the way that just the way that fasting works with
So,
my consciousness is
so
beautiful.
it sounds like that the fasting helps you come into alignment, or helps it to be a steadier ride, or a less uncomfortable ride.
It allows my body to keep up with the changes that are necessary in order to accomplish what my ascension goal is. So when I talk about embodiment or going crystalline light body, the bioluminescence, the metamorphosis that we go through on a photonic level, um, requires the body to behave in a completely different way. And that doesn't mean, oh, I can't eat food anymore. It means you need to get some of the tasks, the daily tasks, that the body can go into habitual mode about. Oh, I get up and I always do this, and then I do that, and then I get hungry. The subconscious is just trained to, you can sleepwalk through a whole day, right? When you're awake and when you're paying attention and you desire something new, you need to mix it up. You need to take the things out of the way, that so the body can dump malignant cells, discordant energies, DNA that just doesn't support what you're telling it to do with your commands, decrees, meditations, activation, all this stuff. It takes the need to process and detoxify food
Mhm.
out of the way, and then it goes straight in cells, and it goes, it goes into survival mode. It's like, oh, okay, I need to be as strong as possible because it thinks there's no more, external food coming in. So it starts dumping bad cells and bad DNA, and the light body starts lighting up because you are telling it what to do. And then of course your visions become much more clearer. There's clearer thoughts. It really does assist.
Mhm.
And it's not a contest. How many days can I go without food? It's not like that. You'll feel it. You're
Yeah.
like, all right, I'm going to be on food for a couple of days and I'm going to go back into it. And then there's Thanksgiving with my sisters. And then I'm going to go back into it. It's just, there's going to be an ebb and flow. But I felt that was clear direction.
Wow.
Do it now thing.
It sounds strong. I
Yeah.
know I've heard it, but I haven't followed it. I've only done it. I've only fasted like twice for like 3 days.
Yeah. The
But
3-day thing is
I've
good.
not heard that in depth and specific of an explanation. So my main
Mhm.
concern is what's happening real time, and it sounds like that is something that that would be a strong consideration because what's
Yeah.
happening real time is so it's just so powerful. There's not enough adjectives. I mean,
Right.
it's a wide variety of things. It's things popping up. It's signs. It's old memories. It's it's just like it's like a machine gun. So anything that
Right.
would facilitate that and make it a little more easy and graceful would be something well worth checking out. Yeah.
Yeah, and you could talk to anybody who's gone breatharian or fasted for a while. Wow, it opens up all this time, where you don't worry about food and preparation and digest. It just like opens up a lot of time. And of course, all of us are embracing and embodying multidimensional consciousness, cosmic Christ
Mm.
consciousness. So you see and feel a lot, and especially with the revelation wave, that is a veil lifter and something that will dramatically change our perception of realities. Revelation isn't about disclosure. Revelation is about, you get to see your true essence coming through without judgment, without the need to see other veils removed. Let's say it's more about removing the veils on your own heart. And I feel like a lot of the focus that we've had in the last couple of years on disclosure and things like that, um, just there's a huge part of the tribe, it just won't be applicable anymore
That's good.
because
Now, are
it's
you
been
talking about this wave you're talking about? Is that in the 12-12 wave? Is that what you're?
it goes the 12/12 all the way through January 20th, with the peak being at solstice. And I know a lot of people are focused on solstice because of the astronomical alignment, but the way, and especially, this passage is always strong, and the 12/12 has always been a really strong, not initiation point, but the beginning of the energies that are gonna shift consciousness for the whole year. It's always been that way. It's always been a very sacred time. And the but this way, all of my intel is like all these, like I have to do a little bit of traveling in the next week because the energies do get quite intense for a lot of us. And I remember specifically on the 12/12/12 being like a complete shift in consciousness, to the point where I couldn't move most of the day. So I'm anticipating, okay, let's get everything aligned. And there's a lot of intel on what this does to our perception. And I feel like most of the distractions that are that are such a strong program in the collective consciousness right now, have thrown a lot of light workers and star seeds off of their true heart being expressed, which is It's not really a concern, but it's kind of like,
We must,
Hmm.
we must be telepathing, obviously. I
Mm.
was going to segue right into that.
Mm.
And I was going to preface it by saying that, each time I talk to you in a lot of conversations, I mean, it's come up over the last few years from time to time, what you're describing, in the community, projection, polarization, extreme positions, ultimatums, but nothing like what's gone down recently. I'm really glad that you addressed it. You always have a really good explanation as to how to navigate through that. Um, I'm glad to hear what you said about the revelation wave, because my question was in regard to what you described. It sounds like this revelation wave will do some by itself, will contribute to some further alignment for those who have gotten off of the purpose, their individual purposes, because of what you described with these external distortions and distractions.
Yeah.
It is. I've said this a few times over the last few days on some shows. I got some intel a few days ago, and it was basically, hey, you know, this is in my own, communion with infinite intelligence in my role, and I'm listening to it about building bridges, uh, bringing platforms of light workers and star seeds together with conspiracy platforms, disclosure platforms, and bringing this together. But in that context, I got a kind of one of those loud messages, and it said, "Hey, if you guys can't be unity consciousness, if you can't find oneness in your community, you the way showers, then how the hell is the rest of the world going to find it?" And it was a loud message, and I've repeated it a few times because I think I was told to do it. But um, your explanation sounds much more reasonable to me than to take it personal or make judgments about people, because there's a lot of chaotic energy flying back and forth, a lot of finger pointing. But it sounds to me like what my experience has been, what I've observed others going through in these last few weeks since Sedona, and that is like you're trying to wring out the towel and get all the moisture out. When you have a wet towel, like
Yeah.
it's all just being squeezed out, and that it's more of a natural progression on our path than it is people getting off track.
Mm.
That's my take on it after listening to what you had to say.
Yeah.
It gives me more optimism. Not that I'm not an optimist, but
No.
yeah, it's been very noticeable, like you said. And
Yeah.
have
And
you
that,
had that type of discussion with very many people, or do you just stay in your own lane?
I tend to stay in my own lane just because I teach divine neutrality and I walk that talk.
Yeah.
So when people are like, this person is saying this about you, or this person's saying that about the other person, or picking sides or whatever,
Yeah.
even it's kind of okay. So this was predicted, right? This heightened polarity, dismantling, like it has to be seen, and then you have to make a choice, right? So everything is thrown in your face. You have to make a choice, and especially for those who are way showing, light working, choosing this ascension. You these when the external gets so cray cray that you're like, people lost faith this year. They're just like, I'm just going to sit back. I don't know what's going on, and they kind of lost touch with their heart because they were kind of staring at the breakdown of the illusion as if it was real, right? Just kind of like, oh my gosh, look at that, look at that. Oh my gosh, this thing was there and now it's gone and it got censored, and back and forth. And it's just like, it's, and we consistently tell people, step back, feel that infinite immortal self. And that doesn't mean that you're not involved because there's only one of us here. It's just you'll have a much easier time of it if you don't pick sides, pick on people. When it's I don't know. Some of it's kind of ironic because I saw a lot of really good teachers start
Mhm.
getting, choosing sides, and I was like, why? Why bother? Why bother putting your energy there? When we know that amplifying the higher frequency overrides and overwrites the lower reality.
Right.
I feel like all of us have been taught that, and yet when the shaking starts and the higher vibration starts shaking apart the lower thing, all of a sudden everyone started looking at the lower thing, and I was like, don't watch it burn. you know let's stay on the path, because that thing's going away. Is it entertaining? Maybe for some people. You just lose interest after a while. It's just like, it's the same conversation over and over again. And, who's going to be right and which prediction is true and everything. It's like, will you just work on your own heart and what
Yeah.
your higher thing is, and keep anchoring in that higher level of service, that higher level of light, that higher aspect of you? Because I'm telling you, this revelation wave is going to reveal the true self. And for a lot of people, they don't even know what that looks like, sounds like, or feels like, to be so present within their heart and such a divine override of what everything you created in the lower realms suddenly, you know, done. And we've been feeling that completion for many years. And when you feel that, oh, I'm done, if I do this one more day, I'm going to
Right.
lose it, kind of thing. And then you start anchoring in these new things, you start playing with it. New Earth is very playful, very, it's 7, 9, 12D. The 5D thing is just, okay, my heart is open and I don't judge anymore.
Right.
Then you're done. If you fall back into judgment, it's okay. Come back up. If you waver, it's fine. Forgive yourself, forgive everyone, and move on. That's the only way through this thing, right? But as the veils come up, and I just want to kind of prepare everyone that this new energy that's already starting to trickle through the gates, that we're already starting to see, the sun, when it gets reset, sun, of course, a prism, the gateway for all the planets getting reconnected. So many sisters and brothers working on that, especially this year. Like, there's all of a sudden there's this divine connection, open gateway, open organic Stargate system. And when that energy comes in, it starts rethreading all these different gateways, including the gateway that you use right through the heart center that's connected to source. And I feel like a lot of people who maybe aren't prepared for that have dramatic heart openings. That's best case scenario. They don't lose it. We've all been concerned about that they don't lose it. Like, I have a completely different perspective,
Mm.
because then they have to forgive themselves for thinking something else. Revelation of, highest trajectory, highest things happening in the now, look at the long game kind of scenario. But most importantly, the ability to gaze into the eyes of another as God.
Wow.
And that's such a pure, beautiful state. And a lot of us have hit that and been able to maintain it. It certainly gets tested by the collective, but if you unplug from the program, that is that lower consciousness that's just, it's sorting things out. There's a lot going on, but you don't need to be entangled with it. You
Mm.
don't need to embody the collective emotion. A lot of people, I would call that a slip, like a lot of people slipping into embodying the collective and the
Yeah.
information from online and things like that. And then they get attached to it and they embody it. And it's part of their consciousness and part of their belief systems. It's just like, let it go, 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 because there's a whole new level of you. And for a lot of way showers, you're actually becoming that pure conduit that you always desired to be. It's fine to be a clear channel and a clear conduit of that intel, but the frequencies themselves and the codes themselves that start emanating through you are palpable. I've had that experience with some of the people here in Sedona. They're like, wow, I can see the codes just like all over you, kind of thing. And my desire is to be a pure conduit of that, where it's just on autopilot all the time. We all have a set of codes that we emanate all the time, right? That's pure, just our light signature.
Mm.
However, when the veils, collective veils lift and the personal veils lift on the light signature, you shine through these realms in a different way. And that's that crystalline light body level starting to come on. It's not the rainbow body of the past. It's this new creation that we are collectively co-creating by all the work that we are doing. When you focus on that, it's all energy that's put out by its creator comes back as information, right? So when you're emanating that frequency, that's going to be your reality, and you're not affected by the other collective realities that are running. It's not escapism. It's like you're choosing to emanate Gaia Sophia higher consciousness level, higher levels, new earth realms now. It's beautiful.
I've been noticing, and I've brought it up to a few guests, and that is, I think, tied into what you're saying. You're using the word conduit, which even makes it better. I was using the word creativity, that, you've got shadow work over here, zero pointing over here, that inner work, but there was like, to me, there was like a new stream available.
Yeah.
Like I noticed that if I, we all kind of can channel and you get in that groove, and we are a conduit. It's not coming from us, it's coming through us. And so what I started to notice is, since we've left Sedona, that there were these flashes and periods that I could remember from going back a few years, when you're in that conduit channel mode. And that in and of itself, it was like a clearing mechanism. It was also a method that keeps me from engaging the external distractions and the distortions. And so I feel what you're saying. And if I tie that into what you were saying about the wave, and I believe you said, with this wave of revelation, we're going to move into, let's say, higher ground. We're going to discover things as a result of a higher vantage point that we might have gone into judgment about 3 months ago, 6 months ago, 9 months ago, that might have been a bit debilitating. Is that what you were saying, that we would get to this place, let's say in December, January, and as these revelations come to us, there's more of an accentuation on the positives and less of attachment to the discovery of new shadows, or things we could have done different and all that?
Yeah, I feel that's already happening. I
Okay.
feel a lot of us have had that experience this year, where it's just you realize what's going on and why.
Yeah.
It helps to know why. Dismantling, it doesn't mean it disappears. It means it gets thrown into the forefront. The collective chooses how do we want to ride through this thing? And then a lot of people having yes, mass awakenings, et cetera, et cetera. It's all been predicted. Disclosure, of course. It's how you deal with it and what you choose. And that for me and what I'm teaching right now is this leveling up. It's this leveling up of, okay, not just understanding what the Christ is, or crystalline or unity consciousness is, but then there's this other level. It's like, attain that first, stabilize it within your fields, then your light body is going to expand, and you are that constant conduit of that frequency. And like they say, miracles happen outside of time. You walk around as that pure conduit, and you'll watch reality self-correct around you because you're holding such a higher frequency. And you can see that on a global level, these higher frequencies coming in shattering all the old systems, exposing all the old systems. Used to be a bit of a slow drip, 2020, boom, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Global awareness of
Yeah.
something is amiss, right? And that's a fine story. It is what it is, but we really need to take ownership of our capability as divine humans, no matter where you came from, using the divine human vessel to, or we're creating a whole different kind of human on this planet. And that divine human is about co-creating, is about what can we do with consciousness in unity. We're going so above and beyond, the crystal technologies and the ability to use codes to retrieve information from the living library, to be able to use our DNA and our light body in a different way. This is the thing. This is the narrative
Yeah.
to follow, to be on board with, because it's not about the drama. Yes, awakening happens at different levels, and it is what it is. And if you're guided to teach or guide to people who are newly awakened, God bless you. Beautiful. And there's also people who want to play with the next level. That is so I call it the creator state of consciousness, but you feel source so palpably all the time. It's eliminating separation. You don't need the experience of separation. Unique life experience, yes, but in a constant honoring of the life force that is God.
Yeah.
And seeing that in everything, honoring that the way it plays out for everyone, and not having to go and attack something that you see that doesn't fit your narrative.
Yeah.
It's yes, there are so many people that are really decent light warriors that are guided to expose certain things, and they've already come to the forefront. The people that were most important to get us to this point
Yeah.
are already there. So it's nothing you have to concern yourself about. And if you're somebody who has been on the fence, like, I really want to help out, but I don't know what to do. All I do is like retweet things or whatever. You need to get off the fence.
There
You
you
need to
go.
make a choice. You need to
There
make a
you
choice, because the wave everything has been amplified this year. That's why a lot of people having trouble with their thoughts and their addictions and everything, because everything is amplified, so you can look at it and make a clearer choice. That's part of the veil lifting. That's part of the revelation. But this revelation wave for those of us who are awake, aware, ascending, and have been working on this for a while, this is an important one.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love what you said there too. Because we notice, this whole thing with the website, of course, we've been working on it for a long, long time, but it never went anywhere. Because there was the old, it was forced. Something was forced, or something was
Yeah.
framed up, or there was a foundation of duality in a certain aspect or a certain agenda. And when we left Sedona, it started with one person. It was an organic wave, and it just was one thing that somebody stepped and said, I want to open an Instagram for Soulogy. Boom. Somebody else came in and said, I want to do your website. Boom. And then it just went boom, 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 boom. And when you're talking about that conduit aspect and how things are attracted to you, I guess is how you put it.
Organized.
Yeah. And it's a much easier, and it's much nicer path to walk than it is to, because there is a strong pull from these patterns that we've had. There's a strong pull because we're so used to being a rubberneck and turning around and looking at the accident on the side of the road. But I think I'm with you. I think it's gotten easier. And now that I'm talking to you, I'm looking at things a little bit differently, that this chaos and this projection energy that we were referring to that's occurred over the last 3 or 4 months was actually a catalyst. It sounds like it was a push to bring this stuff up so that when we get the revelation and we can see from more extreme contrast how out of line we were, and snap right back,
Yeah.
right back, because the judgment is leaving too.
The judgment's leaving. But the big thing is, people are always asking me, where am I on my ascension path? How far did I get? I'm like, have you forgiven everything that's been revealed this year? Are you forgiving moment to moment? Does it just not weigh on your heart when people do things that seem destructive or against God's will, et cetera, because it is all God. I know it's
Yeah.
really difficult. A lot of people woke up in the middle of all the stuff that was going on in the summertime, before the censorship began, and they had never been exposed to that stuff before, and they're like, what? I'm like, easy, breathe. Don't forget who you are. Don't forget that this is all coming to the forefront so that it can be released, right? Kind of keep your eyes on the prize during this thing. But the forgiveness is a lot of self-forgiveness, of course, being revealed too, and washing away all of that it's so old.
It is old.
Some of it is so old. People are still digging around the, ancient whatevers, trying to find the cause for their blues, just kind of like, why am I like this? Why are we like this kind of thing? It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Ultimately,
Yeah, I'm with you.
Mm.
I'm with you. Thank you. The elders, Sasquatch, the elders. Just in what I do over the last 3 or 4 weeks, I've come across quite a few occurrences of people that are either communicating telepathically, dimensionally, or a couple of cases of sightings, to include an incredible photograph, which I'm hoping to talk to the sister about very soon.
Yeah.
That, I've always known that I'm most sensitive to the organic, the elemental, but I've noticed it in animals. I've noticed it in the nature energies, nature beings, and as I started to come into these situations where people said, "Hey, a Sasquatch threw a rock at me the other day. I was sitting on a log, and and then I guess what I'm saying is I could feel from that collection of occurrences something like not just the elders but all the elementals moving in closer and closer and
Mm-hmm.
closer. I know you have a connection with the elementals as well as many other things.
Yeah.
Is that on par with what you're getting? Are you experiencing or seeing anything like that?
Yeah, this beautiful thing's been happening for the past year, where a lot of gate and grid keepers have been requesting from the kingdoms, the animals, the minerals, the elementals, express your new earth, higher crystalline expression. Let that come forth. Let that come forth. And we've been requesting this, and then you start getting these interesting things happening with the elementals and with the kingdoms, plants, everything. It's really luscious, and you walk outside and it's like walking in Eden. I'm so like the frequency, and I understand it has to be a bit of a frequency match for people to feel that. So walk outside, breathe, connect with Gaia, put your hands on some plants or a tree, and feel into the actual vibration that's emanating right through the crystalline grids right now, that's allowing for the way that we communicate in new earth realms, direct communication with the plants, direct communication with the animals. It's sitting side by side with an elk. I had this experience a few months ago. I went to the Grand Canyon, side by, just sitting there hanging out with the elk. Beautiful, right? But the the Sasquatch, which always lights up my heart because I had so much interaction. I've had so much interaction with them. Um, they too, you have to kind of witness what's happening with humanity through their eyes. They see you. They see your frequency. They see your light. So that's why people get the rock, the tapping, the whoop, they get to see them or whatever. It's because there's a frequency. They can see that you're lit up, and when you're lit up that way, they're like, "Ooh, this is the time when humans." They understand the gates too. One of the first things a Sasquatch projected to me was anything for gatekeeper. They know what we do, right? So they understand gates are opening, new frequencies coming. They're on the ships too. So they understand what's coming and what's happening. So there's going to be a lot more interaction because we're calling it forth.
Yeah.
And when plants are making noise and elementals are responding to group intervention, group meditations, when
Mm,
animals are coming close and they have no fear,
yeah.
because you've got no fear in your field, so they're like, well, there's nothing here that's going to attack me, so boom, they're very comfortable with us. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's really beautiful.
Yeah. We were talking to some friends the other day who've been traveling all over the country, a couple with some other people, and they went to the Grand Teton Park and they were on
Mm,
a hiking trail
yeah.
and they saw a bear on the way up, and on the way down, it was a mother bear with two cubs, right solid in the trail. And
Yeah.
our friend was telling me most of the hikers pulled out the bear spray, and he said, "No, no, no, no." He said, "Don't be afraid. We'll just find another way." And he took him on a little side path and just went around him.
Yeah.
But um, his partner was telling me she was saying in the eye contact, like locking eyes with her, with the mother,
Mm,
mother bear was just incredible. They were just describing how the energy was different.
yeah.
You've talked about a little bit about the 12/12, the December to January wave revelation. I don't know what that was that we came out of that, in that Sedona period, but 11/11 seemed to be huge. Uh, Another level of like masculine and feminine energy becoming like one. Um, what do you do? What was the theme in 11/11 to you in November?
It was kind of interesting. I was guided to get a small, intimate group of sisters together, um, and have the divine masculine that wanted to attend anchor, like it's kind of mystery school style. So the sisters are inside, and the divine masculine anchor and protect and hold space, which is usually here divine feminine holding space. This was like strong divine masculine too. And they surprised me, and they brought gongs to play afterward. I was just like, oh my gosh, these brothers are so beautiful. And they literally just stood there and
Yeah.
or sat there and held space. And we went through all these different, and we're like, okay, now, and we were doing the unified viewing thing and toning and living library codes disseminated and activation codes disseminated, all these caves of creation purified and opened up. Just a really beautiful, intimate ceremony. And then I had a vision the day before of us doing this ancient shaking ceremony where the energy comes up from Gaia, and all the girls start bouncing, and I saw it really clearly. And then the whole night before, it was kind of like last night. I was just constant vision and activations and everything from like 1 o'clock in the morning until we met the next day. And I was like, oh my gosh. So we kind of like just grounded, physicalized that etheric experience. I saw everybody who was going to be there. It was really beautiful. But again, because it's happening collectively, there are still so many millions of us doing ceremony in this way, connecting during the unity meditations, just consistency, that you do change your DNA, and there's a collective part of our DNA that is activated.
Yeah.
So it's like these little tipping points, right? Enough people do it, and it doesn't, it's not the numbers, it's not the, bazillion people at the same time. You need quality meditators that can
Yeah.
focus. And when they're consistent, you just keep hitting it over and over and over again. And you start getting a different experience. So this revelation wave, of course, was initiated with the 1111 gate. There's so much going on. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's really quite beautiful. But I'm finding that the that kind of a ceremony uh, probably won't be done again. Where the men are on the outside, women on the inside. It's probably going away. It just felt right for that, and I was seeing it in vision. So I'm like, let's just see what happened. And I feel like even some people were weeping at the photos. They're like, oh my gosh, look at those brothers. They're just, I mean, you've got these women doing all this crazy stuff, for like 2 hours. It was like an hour and a half or something. And they
Holding.
were just holding space, like
Yeah.
literally guarding us. They like put a big gold ring around us
Yeah.
and just stayed focused, participated, and but it was really,
Well,
it was
that
fun.
jives with what I was saying. I mean, to me, that's like a physical representation of what I
Yep.
was getting at. And I've noticed too, and I think we talked about this a little bit in Sedona too. Uh, Kind of an emergence of that masculine energy, like you're describing, that was outside the circle, kind of like the Michael Mejia, uh, Israel, that soft but powerful,
Hmm.
uh, the space holder, that energy that provides the support and safety of that feminine energy to thrive.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that
But I
that
also feel that we're transcending that too, brother,
yeah,
because
yeah,
I feel that stepping forward in me.
yeah,
My divine masculine was always very strong. Then it had to take a back seat while I was doing the divine feminine journey. And now it's like, so you feel whatever is needed in the moment occurs, but you're always not not defending. There's not this, back away from the sisters. Not that kind of energy.
hmm
It's again this divine neutrality, but it's such the balancing energy that came in September has been so consistent. And now I realize its purpose too, because as these new frequencies come in, it's that's the balancing act, right?
yeah,
2020 was a bit of a
yeah,
wild show, right? So now this balancing energy that's, it always comes in early and then it gets physicalized. But the I feel that need, that balance, like, wow, if I can hold this balance, you get that solar flashing activity that's already occurring. I'm sure we talked about that last time. Just being overwhelmed. You see the sun swelling, and you get recoded. And that's a collective thing that's about to unfold in December. This experience of like what's happening behind the veil and the veils over the sun and all of that. It's just like it's already
mm,
there, and if you can be balanced and non-judgmental and immediately forgive and forget other stories or narratives as they come up. It's like, oh, good, somebody's taking care of that. You don't need to get entangled with all this stuff that's being revealed, and that's there's an opportunity here. It's such a leveling up. There's such an opportunity here to really become that which we desire. And if you have your heart set on that cosmic Christ consciousness, that unity consciousness, that ability to really be your I am presence all the time, not as some godlike, you know, um, uh, guru, but as a unique expression, but consistent. You know what I mean? Consistently on, where all the other choices or distortions just whoosh,
yeah,
instantly. You notice that now.
yeah.
A choice point comes up, you're like, not mine.
Yeah.
I don't need that. Thank you.
Or if you if you misstep, you pull right back. No judgment. Keep moving. Like you
Right.
were saying earlier.
Yeah, it's that ability to qualify all the light and the codes and the energies that come through you, that come from you, your
Yeah.
thoughts, your emotions, everything. And you practice it so much through the ascension process, then the body learns, subconscious gets cleared, and your light body goes autopilot, your heart goes autopilot, where you cannot create distortion any longer, right?
Yeah. There's not a whole lot of talking in that, path. I mean, you don't spend a lot of time substantiating what you're doing like we did in the past because we needed to rationalize why we were distracted or who we were blaming or whatever the case was. You're right, though. And I've noticed that the chatter, like this year, the chatter has gotten less and less and less and less. And then even when thoughts come in and I'll think something, I just go and grab it,
Right.
you know? I'm
Right,
not
and
like
not grab it and
separating
stuff
from
it down, but
anything.
you grab it and it's just like dissolved,
Yeah,
that light, that frequency just instantly dissolves that. Or if the mind starts getting distracted or whatever,
yeah.
like, shh, no, thank you.
Another thing this year too has been bouts of solitude, not necessarily measured
Mm,
in linear time. Because like for me, like I can go get what I need in 15 minutes. Sometimes it's 2 hours, but there's when it comes in, really like last night. Like I know after the shows today, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to lay flat on my back, and I'm going to let not to sleep, but just to let everything go to and just assemble. But that's been important. The rest has been important. It hasn't come on the normal time, you know, the daily schedule. It just comes when it comes, and it be 2 hours. It can be 10 hours, although that doesn't happen much. But I've heard a lot of people talking about that too. But I've also seen where they've said that they're okay with it and they realize the importance of it. Which, I mean, to me, that just tells me that the body is elevating too. I
oh,
mean,
yeah.
it's doing what it has to do.
Yeah, and you can feel the 0 point energy that are associated with this revelation wave. That 0 point energy is so palpable. I invite everyone to step outside in those moments when you feel it. All of a sudden, you're like the time stop. That's another thing predicted for December, some kind of full stop. All of a sudden, boom, you feel it, 0 point. It feels like the world stood still, right? But we've been feeling this consistently over the last couple of years, but now it's so frequent where you feel it and you step outside, and even if there's wind, even if there's birds, even if there's noise, you feel the stillness, and it's not creepy, it's expansive, right?
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
and that's again a bliss activation. If you feel it with your heart and you have no fear of that state, oh my god, it's just it's so, I know we use the term bliss, but it's not like some kind of weird spun out thing. It's just such a beautiful comfort,
Mm.
a beautiful oneness with source. You feel source. You kind of don't feel yourself, the individuation. There's like enough, our goal, enough separation so you can see there's Todd, there's Sandra,
Hmm.
but enough unity that you feel the
Yeah.
consistent oneness. And that source point, 0 point thing that the sun was recalibrated in order to broadcast, um, is something that everyone hopefully will tap into before the 12/12. Do it now. Every time you feel it, step outside, even if it's cold, raining, whatever, and feel it. Either connect with Gaia, connect with the sun, connect with that wholeness, and allow it. That's the stuff that recodes your DNA, that resets your fields, that gives you that, I forgot myself for a moment, and here's source to go. Mm-mm, you know, I am all that I am. It's so divine.
Yeah.
And I know it sounds a little esoteric
No,
and
no, no, no. I got you on that. I
whatever.
got you on that. And I'm thinking about, I'm thinking about some of the stuff that I've felt and heard during this time period too, which is people saying, God, I woke up today and I don't feel anything. Like I'm nothing. Like, what the hell is this? Like, and I think this is the same thing you're talking about without the step of walking outside, which makes total sense because
Mm,
there's something about just we sit in the garage there's a dry riverbed behind us. There's something about looking at nature, and watching the possums and the squirrels and the raccoons and the birds, especially given what they've been like, as we were talking about earlier. But
right.
yeah, I've heard a lot of people say that, and every time I hear them tell Morgan that, she makes the same face you did, which is just kind of smiles and says, "Yeah, that's it." It's a weird thing though. A lot of these rhythms are there's more of a challenge getting used to it than there is detaching from something to get to it. It's like we're so used to the shoe dropping and something happening, and it just doesn't happen anymore. If
Right.
you're in alignment, like you said earlier, things just come to you. It's very organic.
It is very organic, and that's part of this whole organic timeline, shifting to the organic timelines and everything, where there is ease and grace, flow, creation, uncreation, no judgment, no distortion. It's quite beautiful. It's quite beautiful, and again, that kind of esoteric, mystical thing that's presenting to me is like poetry, a lot of light language. I'm recording like I haven't recorded like since Lyran Lightship a couple of years ago, a beautiful layered light language sound journey, and I'm hearing that the Lyrans are just singing to me all the time. So I'm like,
Wow.
oh, okay, I guess I need to get this down. It's probably a tool for going through the revelation wave. But for me, like there's these little fractals of self, of the higher self, that a lot of the time when you're a way shower and you're dealing with thousands of people, I'm just for a while I was like, I'm trying to refine my tribe as much as I can. So I'm speaking directly to the folks that are at that level. That's my choice, leaving a lot of breadcrumbs for everyone. But there's something about empowering the folks that are working at that level, and I'm extremely grateful to have launched many a wayshower career through what I do by
Yeah.
giving people tools and language and communication and intel and everything. I'm like, run with it,
Yeah.
go, and it's beautiful to see those people just dealing with hundreds of thousands of people. It's great. It's wonderful. But I notice, like, as I refine my light, rather than reaching less people, it's reaching more. So I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, how do we deal with this? And then when you get into this new earth flow, it's all being taken care of. The all the things that I'm dreaming of and launching for next year is going to be totally different, right? You're not going to see the same kind of things emanating from me that you have over the last couple of years. I'm like, yeah, everything's going to change. I know, because my higher true self that
Mhm.
has been presenting to me over the last year, I'm just like, ooh, how do I do that? How do I do, how do I do that? How do I manage that? And then of course, the people and the co-creators and everything are
Yep.
coming, and a lot of surrender, a lot of
Oh
surrender.
yeah. Every day.
Kind of like, it's okay if you don't give them the same thing that they've been, you know, expecting from you and that you felt obligated to deliver, et cetera, et cetera. I'm like, new expression, brand new thing.
Mm.
And it's not going to flip on January 1st. No one's going to hear much from me during that time, because I'm integrating a brand new level of self.
When are you going to come out in the spring?
I don't know.
Like a hibernation.
Well, it's not like disappearing, huh?
No, I know. I know.
Hopefully it's not like disappearing. But it's toning it down. It's just social media.
Yeah.
I've got, my tribe, my newsletter. It's not even going to be called a tribe anymore. Newsletter. It's like 30,000 close friends, right? So I'm just like, okay, I'm just going to deal because I'm committed to assisting those
Yeah.
folks through there. And of course, my social media will be on autopilot through the end of the year. So it's just like you get decrees and everything else, supportive because we can precog all everything that's going to happen. So that's fine. But the new stuff, it may not appear on January 1st. It's not
Yeah.
a linear thing. I
Yeah.
don't know. I feel like March equinox,
Yeah.
maybe.
Spring. I told somebody that yesterday. I think it's all going to come out in the spring. And what I meant by that is like the alignment. All the pieces going into place. And I think collaboration, co-creation is a big part of it. And you make a really good point too, which we've all seen this shift in the teacher student template, which has now become a more pronounced self-empowerment template. And
Mhm.
I think it was Marie Batcher I was talking to this weekend on the show, and she was talking about how, and I've heard Morgan, I've heard you, I've heard many practitioners say this that have been doing it a long time. I think it's just become the norm now, where they take the person to a certain point and show them, and the rest of it's then they start to run, right? Then they take off. And so what you're talking about makes a lot of sense to me because it's not about how much awareness, how much can I expand awareness of what I'm doing. Let me focus on these pivotal, in your case, these 30,000, and create and replicate, the same template and watch it grow exponentially. That to me is like the new math,
Yeah,
you
and
know.
that's just like escorting that group through this wave. Feels like a bit of a completion.
Hmm.
And then a lot more focus on the beauty of what we can really focusing on how we co-create. So the unity meditations going into like a different level, co-creating with people who bring in a lot more um, good meditators, not occasional meditators, but like
Hmm.
uh, let's really turn on our co-creative skills and start playing with this divine human consciousness and seeing just how much ease and grace there is. Because I'm fascinated by what happens with the unity meditations and what happens with groups that get together. This has been happening since the 12/12 last year. I was kind of flabbergasted by what occurred in our gathering, and I've already and I plan, next year I've already booked the Creative Life Center 3 times,
Is that
so
right?
yeah. Yeah, I see it. I feel it. I know everyone's worried, "No, it's gonna be stricter, blah, blah, blah." I'm like, "It is what it is.
Yeah.
Doing it anyway," kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Right
And
on.
whether it's live streamed or live,
Mhm.
it shall pass.
Or both. Or both. Could be both. Never know.
Right.
Uh, can you just run through that again for me? That
Mm.
you called it when you're uh, gazing into the other's eyes. That what did
This
you
is
call that?
beautiful. All right.
And
So, and I want to give respect to Janet Eichhorst, who's a dear sister of mine, who lives in Prescott, and she comes up for the Unity meditations. We had a open gate for I think actually it might have been solstice in September. I cannot remember. Uh, but we were playing around. You have this open gate crystal grid in the middle of our live Unity meditation out on Cathedral Rock. And she had brought some pieces of apophyllite, and I was fascinated with this one piece of apophyllite she brought. It was this huge, gorgeous thing. If you've ever seen apophyllite, it's super crystal clear, but it's got like this rainbow sheen on it. It's really beautiful. And I was like, that crystal is just talking to me. It wants to be over the gate. It wants to show us something. So she sat on one side, we did a little diamond shape. We squatted down and held on to that. We had two sisters holding space on either side, and we kept our eyes open. This is just happening organically. Kept our eyes open, did the DNA lock, right? So don't know if you've ever seen like Brazzo the Gazer or pure DNA activations from higher realm beings. They'll stare at you, right? And they get that eye lock, and then that's a pure DNA activation. The frequency through the eyes are very clear, heart opening and DNA activation. So we're staring into each other's eyes, holding this crystal, and all of a sudden, eyes open, we're seeing all the stuff that's underneath Cathedral Rock, down into inner Earth realms, Lemurian realms, and consistently going, do you see that? Okay, let's move the crystal over here, like unlocking these codes, greeting these beings, and it kept going on and on and on, and we kept seeing the exact same thing at the same
Wow,
time.
that's
And
far
it
out.
was why I was like, I love that this is happening, because again, well, first we've created the container, right? It's right after a unity meditation. So the vibe and Gaia's primed, and the beings that are underneath there, and different versions of self, and everybody's connected, right? All the way through, source all the way through. So we're already primed for that to occur, but it was flawless. It was just flawless, and then it naturally came to a close. And we've played with it. We played with it at Birthing Cave. We played with it during the 11/11.
Now, is this two people or is it three, four, five, six people?
We've played with it where it's four, so we make the diamond, two doing the
Yeah.
reading, two holding space, all holding onto the crystal. So if y'all want to play with this, do that. But you've got to set the space and have a clear open gate before you begin. So then you go into it, and the viewing just happens, and then it dissolves. On the 11/11, I was like, oh, you want to play with unified viewing? And then we had I don't know how many of us were there.
On your
There were
choice.
9 of us in the circle, and we're all holding on to this. And then we didn't stare into each other's eyes, because we were just like, wow, everybody's, we've got some pretty powerful sisters in the circle, and we're like, oh, let's do this, let's do that. Oh, I'm getting guided to do this. Okay, let's do that. But that's the kind of unified thing where it isn't leader follower. Yeah, there's I serve as a guide, like, all right, let's all get together here with this intention. I'm in charge of opening opening the gate, setting the space. I'm good at that. I have many years of practice. That's part of my job. And then everybody, opens up with their different codes and everything. And then we have this unified light language, toning, it ebbs and flows. It's beautiful. I love playing with it because it's revealing that future self. Right? Because the
Yeah.
future self has been very present with me all year long, and it's always been just there's been a little bit of a veil, kind of like I'm still seeing, but now with this pure embodiment, it's you, it's becoming you, where there's very, very little perception of separation, and that's the key. Is the shift in our perception of realities changes with this wave.
Okay.
Shift in perception. So pay attention to that. If you're looking at something now, it doesn't happen on solstice, it's happening now. If you're looking at something and all of a sudden you're like, why am I doing this? Why am I participating in that? I want to be a creator being. I don't want to be the energetic battery for someone else's narrative or another timeline or situation. And you could feel it. You're like, maybe I don't want to participate in that anymore. And you don't have to. You've got free will. The freedom code's 2 years now. Boom, boom, boom. Really coming to the forefront, which is, of course, why there's so many hindrances on, illusionary hindrances on freedom, is because the freedom codes are quite powerful. So you get the opposite going, blah, revelation, so that we can all go, no.
Yeah. A couple things real quick. You said, and I think I got what you're saying. I can feel it. In regard to your future self, how close, and I know it's not linear, but if we could use linear as a measurement, it sounds to me like when you're referring to future self in this sense, it's almost like she's right in front of you, like very, very
Actually,
close. Like,
she's got her hands on my shoulders. I feel that consistently. Hands on the shoulders, and when I meditate, hands on
yeah,
the palms. There's that aspect of the I am presence. I wouldn't call it higher self, seems to have like done, you know, Christ itself, perhaps Christ itself level. You know, it's just a little it's definitely a much higher vibration, but I can feel that presence kind of being physicalized in this way. Is just kind of like hands on the shoulders. And a lot of people may be interpreting that as like Mother Mary has her, the masters have their hands on. Hey, honey, that's you. Got to realize that's you.
are those the hands that keep pushing everybody out to get out there?
That's probably higher self.
I've heard a lot of that too. I've heard a lot of that this year.
Yeah,
Are
but there
you?
is, you know, this merging. That's the interesting part that I'm finding with these revelation energies coming in, because it was always there. It's not actually a future thing. It's always there. It's
Yeah,
ever present.
yeah,
It's just the self-imposed veils that we have been operating with are going to go away. And when it starts with you, much more powerful than whoa, disclosure. You know, when it starts
yeah,
within,
yeah,
you become that stronger conduit, and then the God light
yeah.
lower again. People understand how physics works, right? Higher vibration just shakes the lower thing apart, changes it, and then absorbs it. Right?
Mm,
That's quantum physics. That's exactly what's happening. Dismantling of the old reality. Here's a higher reality doing its job. You're becoming part of that, shaking apart the old self,
that's it.
changing it, and absorbing it. So all of a sudden, you are that higher thing. I
Yeah,
hope that's clear. That's what's
yeah.
happening with the
No, that's very good.
realities
That's what I was
and the
saying earlier.
sun and the planets and the timelines and you. It's all the same thing expressed in a myriad of ways. That's what's happening.
Yeah, it's everything.
Yeah.
Nothing's left out. And w- you said you were going to be hitting the road a little bit.
Mhm.
Is there anything in particular that you're doing? You don't have to tell us your business, but is it for the purpose of grid work or being in a certain location or just to
Yes.
stay moving? Yeah,
No, I'm just gonna. I've got a couple of little service mission calls,
yeah,
just for a couple of days.
yeah. Well,
To
good.
it's all, you know, with the grid work. It's to ensure that highest trajectory really gets amplified, and there's a couple of particular spots that I need to visit and attune.
Very cool. Well, thank
Yeah,
you for that. Thank you for everything that you do. It's always good to see you. I hope next time we get over there, we can spend a little more time together. But I
yeah.
guess we do in the ethers anyway. Obviously
Always,
there's
brother.
yeah,
Always. Look at us last night.
yeah, yeah,
So much
yeah.
going on. I was like, gosh, every time I'm on Todd's show, you know, it's so great. It's so
uh,
wonderful. And you know,
I'm like,
visitation too has been picking up, so I'm sure you're seeing
yeah.
a lot of what I'm seeing too. You're just like,
It's yeah, it's that part of it's really it kind of slowed down for a while. And I remember Morgan saying, "Well, it's because it's us. We're going to be seeing it in each other." And a few days ago, and it wasn't a visitation, but it was. And I've seen things with my physical eyes many times, but I was in the middle of the night, opened my eyes, and I'm looking down an infinite corridor, and I'm blinking my eyes,
yeah.
going, "Wait a minute!" And I heard you get up and walk. You walk down that corridor to someone else that'll look like you're walking through the wall. Now, I wasn't moved to do it at that time, and I don't think I would have been able to, but they were kind of saying, this is where you're headed. Like,
Mhm.
this is what you guys are walking into. This is just a little glimpse. It's not the whole thing, but what you're looking at here is not even there,
Right.
basically. And I
Right.
was like, wow, this is cool.
I've had some like just spontaneous remote viewing. You know, you lay down because, of course, you lay down in the afternoon, close my eyes, and it's not sleep, but I instantly go into like standing in, you know, some home or
Yeah.
Oval Office or whatever. I'm
Right
just
on.
like,
I got
and I
I got
can
it.
describe everything. It's wild.
I know David Icke was supposed to be on today. He's coming on in January. We thought that you coming after was the perfect slot, and I appreciate you agreeing to do that. In the communications, you had mentioned something about doing a meditation. So I just want to hand it over to you before we get out of here. Anything that you feel is appropriate. You're not obligated to do a meditation, any blessing, any light language. You can sing and dance if you want to.
I'll
But
sustain.
yeah, the reason that we felt that was just like a stabilizing factor, just like a bring equilibrium. So the floor is yours. If anything you'd like to do before we leave.
Beautiful. Let's just take a couple moments. Everyone take a breath. Drop the elevator from the mind into the heart. The heart that does not lie. The heart that does not care. Freedom. Freedom, freedom, freedom. And connecting with all of your brothers and sisters that are watching this or viewing it in the future. There is no time. Collapse into the now. Breathe. And let's all use our Christed frequency, calling forth that Christed light, that pure God light. And let's just emanate it out through the heart, through our connected mandala of divine human hearts all over the planet. And just emanate a blessing of divine neutrality, peace, stability, balance without any personal agenda or narrative. Just pure God light. All is well. Pure love. Emanate it out. Feeling the unification. And for those brothers and sisters tapping in right now, allow this unification to brighten your heart, to make you a stronger conduit, washing away all of the old timelines, the old narratives. No focus on trying to dissolve anything. Let it be. Let your pure God light shine. That pure emanation, divine cosmic mother, heavenly Father, the paradise sons and daughters of God, be that sun, that presence. Send that blessing to all of humanity. And light up the crystalline core of Gaia. She will amplify it, send her pure light, and she will send it back. Light up. And allow this emanation, this message, this communication to go out to the entire solar system, galaxy, multiverse, universe, as a message from the divine human presence on Gaia. All is well. I am ascended. I am all that I am. Celebrate freedom, creativity, infinite divine love and divine light, penetrating, saturating all of creation with this pure blessing from our unified hearts. Now call it back to your local universe, your highest Christed self, right through the heart. And walk around with that emanation. Walk around with that unified consciousness as your compass as we walk through these divine consciousness shifting, dimensional shifting, reality shifting, waves of divine light and frequencies. And let your heart just emanate those codes, emanate those frequencies. Stay out of the way. Let God do the work. And create and qualify all of the light that comes forth through you as a unique fractal to be encoded with those frequencies. Maintain that focus, washing away all the distractions. There's a lot you don't have to pay attention to during this passage. Only what you desire to create and co-create. Put your focus there on the divine love, and it will shake loose all the distortions. Breathe. Bow to your brothers and sisters. So it is.
So it is.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, beloved sister. Thank you for your service to humanity, and I look forward to seeing you again and collaborating with you again if there's anything I can do to help you. And whatever you're doing, but it doesn't sound like you're going to be putting anything out there until you sharpen your axe and come out.
We'll see. It is what it is, right?
Yeah, true. That's true. The minute we say something like that,
Exactly.
they come, right? Thank you so much. You have a great day. Have a great week.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye. Take care.